Hi everyone, GoTech here. As always, it has been a while, so I've been using this phone daily since its release, and although at first glance it looks like a pretty incremental update, there is actually a lot to talk about. I think that all these little changes are far from being meaningless, and to go even further, they could reflect a change in the direction Samsung is currently taking. The design has been slightly updated, with a more boxier profile than ever, now that the back is flat. But fortunately, the edges of the frame are not, so the device remains comfortable in the hand. It does feel a bit lighter and slimmer too. Titanium, as expected, has been a big deal during the launch event, with some promises regarding its durability. It's a bit too early to conclude about it, but at least from a visual standpoint, I appreciate the fact that it doesn't pick up fingerprint that much, and this little satin finish goes quite well with this new black color. Other than that, it's sleek, almost minimalistic given the simplicity of the camera even, that doesn't protrude that much by the way, and more importantly, it feels premium. So they get up with curved screen. While I always like how futuristic they look, how smooth they feel when using gesture navigations, they also have some flaws, like their higher reflectivity on the edges, and the fact that it doesn't seem possible, at least for now, to make symmetrical bezels with this type of screen. And by making it flat, Samsung gets rid of these two issues, and we can say it quite brilliantly. Like the standard versions, the screen is now surrounded by thin and symmetrical bezels, and using a two-tone frame gives the illusion that these are even slimmer. And then there is this new anti-reflective coating. It does an amazing job at reducing reflections and the usual change in color tone under sunlight. On the other side, it also serves night, like in a dark environment, let's say in your bed, when you are super annoyed because you would like to lower the screen brightness to a super low level, but you don't do it because otherwise there will be too much reflections, so you accept burning your eyes all night. Yes, if you have recognized yourself, your life will be a little bit better with this screen, although I still don't recommend doing that. And finally, it should also reduce the power consumption of the screen, and therefore improve the battery life of the phone, as it means in theory that you don't have to crank up the screen brightness to a super high level to keep it readable. So this new anti-reflective coating really makes a significant difference, and I really hope other OEM will start using it given all the benefits it brings. It is just an interesting approach to make the screen more readable, other than just crank up the screen brightness. As always with Samsung devices, the screen isn't set to the highest resolution, but I'd advise you to do it if you want the best experience, and you won't probably suffer from battery anxiety. I am personally approaching 7 to 8 hours of screen time with a mixed usage, including social media and a bit of gaming. So I can get a full day without any problem, and 2 days is not something impossible to consider with light use. The camera has always been the key selling point of high-end phones, but this time Samsung has taken a pretty uncommon path by promoting the software instead. That's a bold move, but after using it for a few months now, I just want to say, yes, why not? AI-related features. They have been a major part of the communication, and for example, Circle to Search is one of them, and probably the one I have used the most. It works great, is smart enough to identify the content I am wondering about, and is therefore an intuitive way to looking for information. The web browser app is also packed with interesting features, like the ability to translate or summarize a web page. The Note app does it too, and it can also automatically suggest you a better layout for your notes, which is pretty convenient. Same can be said with the Keyboard app, which can translate conversations on some messaging app, or even change the tone of the message you are typing, for something more friendly or more formal. I can totally see someone using it when typing a business email. I'm just not really sure about the social one that I find a bit cringeous. Or maybe I'm just getting a bit old, I don't know. But overall these functions work well, and I really appreciated how easy to access they are. I didn't really feel they exist just for the sake of existing. They all have their own use cases. And because these AI will keep learning, they will likely to be improved over time. But you know what? Even without these AI features, there is actually a lot to like about One UI. The overall software experience feels super polished with these newer and smooth animations, the beautifully animated widget, and the Samsung apps that I find super underrated. First, because I like uniformity and I simply feel better with the overall design language of One UI. It would be strange if they not, honestly. And second, I find them better than the Google counterparts. Take Samsung web browser for example. I found it not only to be smoother and faster than Google Chrome, it is also compatible with extensions, so you can install an ad blocker on it. The email app has more reachable buttons and provides more tools to write your emails. The file manager has a direct integration to Google Drive and OneDrive. And my favorite one is probably the Note app, which is super complete. Font size, colors, choice of grid. You can even lock your notes with your fingerprint. And the cherry on top, you can automatically generate a cover for each of your notes. I know it sounds super overkill, but it is really this type of attention to detail that I expect on a high-end phone with a major software, which, in my opinion, makes the experience more user-friendly. The only stock app that I am not really a huge fan of is the keyboard app. It is really too bad because I really like the integrated AI features, but I find the automated text corrections leaves to be desired. So for now, I replaced it with Microsoft SwiftKey until it gets better. And finally, 7 years of software updates. That's huge, and honestly, I don't even know if people really keep their phone that long, but it also does mean that this phone could be an incredible value in a few years, as Samsung phones tend to quickly drop in price. Although mid-range phones are getting better, some features still seems to be limited to high-end phones, like really good video stabilization, LTPO display, or periscope zoom lens. And with this one, you will get all these at once. Here again, Samsung has made quite an unusual move by replacing its almost iconic 10x periscope zoom lens by a more conventional 5x one. And here again, what at first glance could be considered as a questionable decision is actually a more thoughtful one. Indeed, this sensor being physically bigger, it produces higher quality pictures at 5x than the old one did at 10x. And because of that, it also does pretty well at 10x. So in the end, this change translates into an improvement of the focal range coverage at shorter range, and I honestly think that it was the trade-off made at higher magnifications. Regarding the shooting experience itself, I mostly shoot in RAW with the Samsung Expert Pro app. I think it is the way to go for the best possible quality. I then import them into Lightroom to get rid of this usual overprocessed look that Samsung likes to apply, for something more natural, more organic. Overall, we can achieve some pretty impressive results with outputs that sometimes don't even look like something coming from a phone. I have spent a few days in Istanbul and I have taken a lot of pictures with this one. And honestly, I have almost never missed my mirrorless camera because the pictures coming from this phone were so great. I have said almost because I actually have two complaints. The first one is related to the 3x lens. Its size hasn't changed that much in 3 generations. For sure, a new ISP and better software processing can make the difference, but they simply cannot pass through hardware limitations. So don't get me wrong, it is absolutely fine in daylight and I have made cool pictures with it, but because the sensor is so small, the pictures it produces turn out to be pretty flat, with little to no depth. And my second complaint is mostly related to videos. So the quality itself is pretty good, and I'm happy to see that the over sharpening has been greatly reduced. So videos are a lot more natural now, without of course reaching the usual soft look of a dedicated camera system. The dynamic range is pretty good too, and the stabilization is stellar. So it does the essential well. The thing is that with what Apple has done with the iPhones in recent years, I just expected some answers coming from Samsung, with the introductions of more pro features, like the ability to shoot in RAW, or at least in log. It will be seriously awesome, and it will change my mind on how I see this phone regarding its video capabilities and how I could even use it as a beacon. Samsung has already made an amazing job with the Expert Pro app. I'm pretty sure they can do something similar with the videos. Okay, these last few minutes sounded pretty harsh, but I was really trying to be nitpicking at this point because, except maybe for the 3x lens, this one really checks all the bases, and quite brilliantly. It was honestly an interesting phone to review because it stands out on areas I not expected, like the software, which was a big hit for me. Otherwise, it is one of the most well-rounded phone money can buy, and I simply cannot not recommend it, except maybe for those who hate big phones and the owners of the S23 series phone, as a lot of these software features are making their way on these phones once they will be updated. For the others, you won't be disappointed. Alright, it was GoTech, thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next decade for the next one. See you.